good evening, and welcome to Conversations with Entrepreneurs. I am your host, Alethea Brown, and I am joined tonight with, let's start with Jeff. Jeff is always the last one. I'm gonna let Jeff go first today.
Hey, everybody. So happy to see all my wonderful, like-minded friends and entrepreneurs tonight. Nice to see you.
Hey, Jeff. Julie.
It's good to be seen, Jeff. Hello, everybody. I'm Julie Logan, owner, operator of Popcorn Heaven, Steel Creek. Good to be here.
Hey, Julie. Chanel.
Well, I'm going to act right tonight. Chanel Varner here with Moonglade Travel. Happy to see all of you beautiful people again. I feel like I've been away for the last, 2 or so weeks, probably traveling. So glad to be here tonight.
Very glad you're back. Tonight, we're going to talk about what does it mean to surround yourself with like-minded people as entrepreneurs. I think we are a prime example of that. And so I'm going to let you start first, Chanel.
Absolutely. I think this is what that looks like, surrounding ourselves with like-minded people. You know, we started back, like you, Alethea, and I, 2012 is where our, paths has crossed originally. And then look at how we have evolved over the years and stayed connected or reconnected or even just cross-connected. Julie, you and I just recently met, last year. So I think this is it. Entrepreneurs that have had experiences and gone through things and just want to share what they know with each other, want to be around people who inspire them and motivate them and are their true selves and authentic. I can pick up the phone and call Jeff and say, hey, what do you think about this? And he may say, hey, Chanel, I don't know. You might want to think about that. Or, what do you think about this instead? But just to have those type of people in your circle that are true and really just have your best interest at heart and that authentically support you, I think is what that means and how important it is to entrepreneurs.
I agree, Julie.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chanel. It's almost like a second family. You have such a bond and a connection with each other that no matter what happens to one person, it seems like it happens to us all.
Yes.
Right. Being authentic, having the same goals, having the same ideas, and wanting to share that with the next person and not, letting it be like a competition thing. Right. So it's enough for all of us. So definitely having the like-minded folks in your corner is the best thing to have because it takes you a long way with the different ideals and different suggestions and recommendations that we offer to each other. Even to colleagues that calls themselves the duck whisperer, just having like-minded folks like that. I mean, we enjoy the duck whisperer that we have in this group. So we look forward to it. It's so awesome.
45 seconds. 45 seconds.
Jeff?
Anyway, I love being around like-minded people, especially entrepreneurs, because in addition to what you guys said, I want to take it another level. It's a whole different mindset. And unless you're an entrepreneur, you have no idea what it's like. Like, for example, I can't talk to someone who has a job and they get paid every 2 weeks. The struggles of not having money and not knowing how much I'm gonna make in the next week or month or 2 months in some instances. Because the first thing they're gonna say is just go get a job. No, that defeats the purpose, because then if I go get a job, then I won't have time to do what I have to do here. It's going to take away time from that. Well, I don't understand. Okay, I can't really talk to you about this. Sometimes you want to vent to someone that when you're going through something like this, and you guys could fully, truly understand what I'm saying, and then you could, give me some constructive feedback or maybe some encouragement that I need as an entrepreneur that another person just may not be able to even comprehend or understand. So it's very important to be around individuals who can understand what you're going through and even think like you do and not tell you to throw in the towel when things get a little tough, because we all know as entrepreneurs, you're gonna have a lot of tiles if you want to throw those in, and you're gonna feel like that often until you really get successful. So you have to be around other entrepreneurs, and especially some who have gone through something you've already been through. Because if they've been through it, then they can walk you through it and say, "Oh, this is normal. You'll be okay." And that's huge, very important.
I agree, Jeff. And the same thing is, so we're not telling you to cut off your family or anything like that. But some of the things, and one of the things we constantly say on this show is, if you are around someone that's talking you out of what you are trying to do, is because they don't have a vision of them being able or capable of doing what you want to do, the desire that you have to do that. So they're going to talk you out of it because they can't see themselves doing it. And that's the difference in between having like-minded people. So we're not saying put all your family in the closet. We're just saying sometimes you got to go outside of that. To find, and there are groups out there and organizations and podcasts out there that will help you, give you some type of list of things you need to look for and be aware of as you're starting on your entrepreneurial journey, and even in the midst of it too, because you have people that will try to talk you out of it, but then when they see you growing, they try to pull you down. And so a lot of people have those type of experience. So it's a different journey for everyone. But tonight we're just trying to let you know there are some other things too that you can look forward to. And I think Dion just tried to join us. I saw him and then he left. We'll give him a chance to get set back up. So I'm going to start with you, Chanel. So we always have like a like-minded people. And so the industry that your business is in, how was that with you? I know it's a joint effort for you as far as with your family, being part of it, but outside of that, how was that for you to get people to say, a travel business? What type of feedback have you gotten when you first started out like that?
Surprisingly, I had, I would say, an abundance of support as far as family and friends. I think it came when trying to explain to them that, well, I think there's a stigma about what a travel agent is. We consider ourselves travel advisors because there's a little bit more that goes into just being a travel agent. So the term has changed within the industry. However, historically, that's just somebody who may book a cruise or book a plane ticket somewhere. But it's a lot more than that. So I think it came to just really educating people on what it is that I do in the profession. But still, I want to say the support was across the board. I think some may have thought like, oh, okay, she likes to travel and it's more of a hobby instead of a legitimate business that we're running and scaling to size. So I think that's probably what it was in the beginning. So the support was definitely there, but then I think it was just really getting people on board to what we were doing.
That vision, seeing the vision of,
Yeah.
which you
Right.
knew you was going to be able to accomplish.
Right.
Julie?
For me, to be honest with you, I operated in silence at first. My girlfriend group, there's about 5 of us total, and I shared with them high level what I was going to do from a popcorn perspective. But because they know I'm such the hustler, they clown me. They're like, you got 503 jobs, right? What else are you going to do? Well, then from that point on, I just said, okay, I can show you better than I can tell you. Right. So I just operated in silence until, it got to a point to where I was able to fully share what was going on with the popcorn shop, the brick and mortar and all that kind of stuff, because, things can happen just like that. Right. And so when everything was solidified, then that's when I started sharing, and the support really was overwhelming, to be honest with you, especially when we had the launch of the popcorn shop. It was so overwhelmingly folks that came out and supported. It was just great. So sometimes you have to operate in silence because Alethea alluded to it. There are some people who would try to talk you out of it. Not to say that my friends would, but sometimes you just you just have to operate in what God has given to you. He gave you the vision. He gave you the vision. And sometimes you have to operate in silence in order to fulfill what it is that he has for you.
I agree. Yeah.
I want to talk about another aspect that people don't really think about, and it's called confirmation bias. And with that is a person will have a certain set of beliefs, and then they will congregate or gravitate towards the same people who have those similar beliefs. That can be good and bad, because if you have a certain set of beliefs and you're not open-minded to seeing other perspectives, then that can really narrow your focus. So for example, as an entrepreneur, if you're used to doing everything yourself and you get around other entrepreneurs who do everything themselves, then you're going to continue to do everything yourself. If you can do that, that's cool, but that's going to stunt your growth, because the most successful businesses, they have teams of people that they work with, or they outsource some of their work. So you have to be real careful, even if you do, congregate or associate with people who have similar thoughts. It could be a double-edged sword too. So you still want to have an open mind, and even just kind of look outside your circle, and even look at some people who are outside of your, your beliefs and thought processes too. And that's going to be huge for your business. Because for me personally, when I was a broker, I thought I would just only work with a certain type of people because that's all who would work with me. But then when I started talking to others, I realized there's a whole nother world out there, people who would work with me. So I had to learn how to, just open my circle a bit, and kind of limit that confirmation bias thought that all of us have to an extent. We all gravitate towards certain groups on message boards and on social media who are hustlers, like Julie said. But sometimes that hustle can be a detriment if you're not careful. So it's very important that you look outside that circle too.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of people tend to do like what Julie said. You tell them the whole wide world, and then it doesn't come to fruition. Then people, like, if you come back again and say, "Oh, I'm starting up again," and and still doesn't come to fruition. So it's kind of like your timing and FaceTiming or God's timing, depending on how you look on it, is just sometimes just match up, right? Or sometimes my grandmother called it, you put the horse before the cart. You start running and rolling, but you didn't have all of the foundation laid enough to continue on that path. And so sometimes we can be our own worst critic or our own worst issue, because we're not being consistent in how we're trying to move forward with our ventures. So that can, change your mind about different things. For me, when I first started writing screenplays, I was 22 years old, talking about films, going to do Spike Lee since 1988. And then my family's like, she's been talking about this for 30 years. I still ain't seen nothing on TV, So it really just depends on what it is that you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it. And sometimes you'll find that friends may be more family to you than family. Having spent the past year with you guys have been friend and family. Being able to come up here and talk, and the blooper reels that people have yet to see, the way that we are literally family friends, and having you all to speak to and talk to, good and bad, because we have good and bad in this group as well, professionally and personally.
We definitely got a lot of bad.
I think we lost him. What did Jeff say?
He didn't say nothing. I was going to say, one thing I thought about was, how there's movie critics. I honestly believe that there are entrepreneur critics. People who just like, see, I told you so. She took too long. She's been writing movies ever since she was 22. Now look at her. She still ain't wrote nothing. Well, guess what? They're about to be shut down, right? Our timing is not God's timing. God's timing is not our timing. So it takes time for things to one, those seeds to be planted that we talk about all the time, for them to be watered and for it to mature and then for it to grow and to be birthed, right? That doesn't happen overnight.
Exactly.
A child doesn't go from a sperm to an adult overnight. No, it takes time. So there's steps and processes that has to be in place. So yeah.
I agree. Very well said too, Julie. Right. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. What did Jeff say? Because he's sitting there.
He was
He's just sitting.
Remember, I just be talking, it's not important.
What are we going to do with him, Chanel? What are we going to do?
Nothing.
Right. Jeff is grandfather then. It's not much we could do.
So again, with the like-minded people.
Right.
We'll keep him for the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes. Oh, he got a timestamp on it. All right, you heard it, Jeff. Julie said 15 minutes. Count it down, Chanel.
I know it.
I'm almost offended, but I'm not. I'm like this close to being offended, but that's okay. Like-minded people, right?
Right. That's what it is. Julie, I wanted to touch on something you said about moving in silence. I think I just posted this week about being cute and mute. And that was just me being cute, but being mute, like I've been behind the scenes, grinding and hustling, the last couple of months, but it doesn't need to be broadcasted. You don't have to tell everybody your every move, because like you said, you got those naysayers and you got the people who are, just waiting for you to fail. So move in silence and then show up. It's simple as that. And then also, it's just not about validation. I'm not doing it because I want someone to say, yes, you're doing a great job, keep up the good work, having that self-validation or your validation from God or, whoever, to have that and not looking for that in external sources. Good point.
The other thing too is, and I think this kind of goes regardless of the level of it, but relationship or spousal support when you're working towards it, even if your person you're in a relationship with or either the person that you're married to is not having some type of role in what you're, as far as the company, even just having their support too makes a difference as well, because some people will pull back on that. Jeff looks like he's getting rid of mute.
I was trying to get off mute. I have seen a lot of pushback and resistance for business and entrepreneurs. I remember Dion said one time that he had vending machines and some of his own family would not use his vending machines because they didn't want to see him be successful. Now, that is absolutely terrible. And here's part of the problem right here. We're not taught this stuff. And I'm talking people of color. Look back through your schooling from grade school, from kindergarten up to college. We're taught to go to school, get good grades, and get a job. And that's all we're taught. We're taught to get that paycheck every 2 weeks, save for retirement, and live happily ever after. Well, that may be good for some, but that's not good for everybody. And that's where the problem is. So you can talk to someone like Chanel was saying, don't tell anybody. Part of the reason you can't tell anybody is because they mentally can't understand what you're trying to do. And they may be trying to look out for your best interests because they've been told, go to school, get a job. That's the safe thing to do. And then we've all seen the horror stories of people who tried businesses and didn't work. We've all seen it. We've all heard the horror stories. We've all seen the people who started a business and it was a scam. And we've heard all the people about people who started a business and it was, terrible service. So we've all heard that. So it's like almost like an uphill battle. And then on top of that, you have the people who won't support you for whatever reason, fill in the blank, like what happened with Dion. So I think our community, we're facing a really tough battle as far as getting our businesses off the ground, because then you have some customers who just want to nickel and dime you, so you can't even make a profit. And then if you do become successful, then there's going to be animosity that you're not helping the community. So how can you win? And on that note, I want to say this to everyone out there watching. If you're an entrepreneur, you're not getting paid. You don't know when you're going to get that first paycheck when you start that business. So you could be working 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week for 6 months to a year, whatever, and you're barely getting by. And when you finally get successful, you can finally reap the benefits of that business, then you're going to have people say, well, you're not giving back to the community. You weren't supporting me in the beginning. So how can, it's like a double-edged sword. I know I went on a little tangent, but I just wanted to get that out there. But sometimes you just have to just keep it to yourself, like Chanel said, because they may mean well, but they just don't get it. And you have to be wired differently to do this. You have to be wired differently to play NFL football. You have to be wired differently to do something like that. And it's the same, similar thing with being an entrepreneur, because you're not getting a paycheck. You don't know how much you're going to make. You don't know. And so it's critical that we get around someone who understands us and can laugh and cheer us up when we're down, because you will be down. Mm-hmm. You're going to have dark days as an entrepreneur. There's no getting around it. So that's why you need someone who's silly like Julie, who can make you laugh, or someone who's sarcastic like Chanel, who can say something just totally out of pocket, like, you know what, I can't do with her today. It's just, it is what it is.
But you keep coming back week after week after week, right?
Right. Right.
We're doing something right, Julie.
We're doing something right. Like-minded people.
I agree with Jeff on that. That roller coaster ride when you're first starting off, like when I first started with the venture I'm on now, Dion and Julie was part of it. We had the highs and we thought, "Ooh, we're about to fly," and then whammo, okay, not this one. And so and it's an unpredictable field to be in. So, but it's not something you give up. So everybody doesn't have the same obstacles, but they are there. And I think Julie said this before in the past, and also be prepared for them. Try to say what a backup plan would be if you are hit with something. Sometimes you can't be prepared for every obstacle that can come your way, but if you have some semblance of what it could be, then you have a game plan where you can attack it a little better. And I think that's a good thing to do as well. We can't predict every single thing, but if you know you have the desire and the motivation to do it, you're going to try to lay down every possible angle to make sure you succeed. So you can say, I told you, no, don't do that. I said that, but don't tell people, I told you I was going to make it, but in your heart, you want to, but you can't. But it is important to have backup plans on top of backup plans on top of backup plans when you're stepping out there as an entrepreneur. Because like Jeff said, it takes a minute for that paycheck to start coming in. You got the bills, but it takes a minute for the check to start coming in. You got a whole lot of bills. Bills on top of bills on top of bills.
And you're taking a risk. It's absolutely a risk that you're taking and jumping out there to make this vision and this dream that you have in you come to fruition, right?
Right.
But you got to be somewhat of a risk taker. I didn't think that I was a risk taker, but most people have said, yeah, you took a risk by opening up this shop, this brick and mortar in the midst of a COVID.
Yeah.
Well, when you know that you know, then you go. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did. That might be my next gig, rhyming. Who knows? I don't know. Multiple streams of income, Jeff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Set you up on MySpace and rhyme on MySpace.
Yes, Chanel. Yes.
Welcome to the dark side.
Yes.
It's after 6, right?
And this is us.
Like-minded people.
And this is us. To your point, Julie, yes, there's a lot of risk in being an entrepreneur. You need to prepare yourself for them, but some risks are worth it if that's where your heart is at. You take a risk, start a job. You think this company going to give you this and offer you that, and that 90-day profile, they decide, no, we want to try somebody else new. Or a pandemic can come along and they say, well, we're going to discontinue your position because this is not a role that you can work for remotely for. So we'll let you know after the pandemic is over. So there are all these different things that are a risk, but if this is your dream, if it's in your heart, then every risk is worth taking. If you start questioning yourself a lot, then maybe your approach needs to be reviewed. But I would never tell anybody to give up on their dream. There are a lot of people out there, a lot of, big time billionaires that have tried and tried and tried again before they felt they got it right or it took off. The pandemic has changed that for a lot of businesses. There were a lot of successful business here in Charlotte, especially downtown Charlotte. Those restaurants were great, but they didn't know how to pivot. And it's sad to see that real estate empty now, for those businesses. So now everybody's brick and mortar. But if big businesses like that, then it's a given the smaller people are probably struggling too, depending on what it is that they was offering. Because you're finding that some people are offering things to make people come and go. Make them come, no matter what, rain, sleet, or snow, they're right there. So it depends on what your aspiration is. But again, just assess what it could be. If you don't know someone that's in that business, find a group of entrepreneurs to speak with to see, so that you can learn if you have that fear within yourself that you're scared to fail. But I can always say, my mother told me failure is not an option.
There's a lot of tools and resources. Jeff, I know you're trying to jump in too, but I know there's a lot of resources locally or within your own cities. For example, I just want to put a plug in for like the Women Business Center. It's a center that offers all kinds of information, tools, and resources for women business owners. And so there you're surrounded by like-minded folks, women, entrepreneurs who have somewhat similar goals and trying to grow and scale their businesses. And so you got to definitely tap into the resources that are made available to us. And that's sometimes a lot of folks don't do that. Trying to figure it out on your own. Well, you don't have to do that. There are entrepreneurs who have gone through that. They can share with you their experience, like what we're doing. That's what this platform is. And as well as resources that offer programs and classes that teach you how to get where you need to be. So
I'm glad you mentioned that, Julie, too, because a lot of people that are out there now that are still unemployed, the unemployment office now has programs, virtual programs that will help you venture into being an entrepreneur. I don't know if this is always something that they've had, but they've started initiating it. I get the email alerts following that little North Carolina Works page thing that they have, and they've been the employment office is like, well, can anybody hire you? Hire yourself. And if they can see that that's possible, then they definitely can provide you with resources that can help you get through it. Side hustle is a business. You just need to stop calling it a hustle. Jeff's rocking.
Jeff double dutching. He trying to double dutch. He
Jump
double dutching to jump in.
She ain't turning that rope right. I'm gonna wait just a little bit. Yeah.
Come on, Jeff, jump in.
But y'all had got another analogy for double dutch. Double dutch. Anyway, I want to talk about something you said, Julie, that really got me thinking. You talk about risk. Life is a risk. You take a risk when you walk out the house every day. Yes. But one thing that I really want to say is there's one thing worse than the fear of risk, and that is the feeling of regret. Regret will eat you up.
Oh, yes.
Please don't be 50, 60, 70 years old saying, I wish I would have tried that, but I was afraid to. That can drive you crazy. And I have some risks that I didn't take even back when I was in my 20s. And I look back like, man, I should have tried it back then. Why didn't I try? What was wrong with me? But sometimes you're afraid. You're afraid of failure. You're afraid of making a mistake. You're afraid of what people are going to say. You're afraid of the ridicule. You're afraid of people laughing at you. You're afraid of stepping out from the crowd. But at some point, you got to be like, you know what? This is my life, and I got to try it. If there's something you want to do, you need to just go out and try it. Because I guarantee you, when you get older, you're going to look back and be like, man, what was I thinking? Well, I can't believe I didn't even try. You're going to get to the point you're going to be like, who cares what these fools think? I don't care what these clowns think. I don't even like them anyway. So why should I care what they think? So I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it. You know, so like, for example, if Chanel don't like something I do, I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. It is what it
He cares, Chanel. He cares. He cares.
You got nothing to say? Okay. All right. So yeah, that's the thing. You cannot have that fear. You can't worry about what people are going to say. You can't worry about the looks that they give you while you're talking, like you look at you like you're crazy. You cannot worry about that. You got to say, you know what? This is my life and I am going to do it myself, regardless of what other people think. But all jokes aside, I'm teasing Chanel, but all jokes aside though, you cannot live like that because it will eat you up. And I kid you not. So anyone out there watching this, if you want to do something, just go for it. Learn everything you can. And just like we said in this podcast, surround yourself with like-minded, positive people who are going to uplift you. I promise you, there are 5 people on this panel, and we all uplift each other and support each other like you wouldn't believe. And it's critical that you have people in your corner who understand what you're doing and will support you through good times and bad. That is key. And if you don't have that, go find it, because there are people out there who will support you. And again, do not fear risk, and please don't live with regret because it will drive you crazy.
So we're going to call it the 3 R's, right, Jeff? So risk, if you run into them, regroup, reassess, right? Risk, regroup, reassess. If not, then you'll have the 4th R, which is regret. Because if you give up, somewhere down the line, you're going to regret that you gave up because you got fearful of the risk that will
Jeff created the 4 R's. Isn't that something? One thing I wanted to say was, Jeff, you really touched on about the regret piece of it and not taking a chance. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. So for example, now that I think about it, had I taken the route of entrepreneurship when I was much younger or didn't have as much experience, I wonder where I would be. But I have to believe that I had to go through certain experiences, certain trials and tribulations to, 1, make me stronger, 2, make me more knowledgeable, so that now is the time, now was the perfect time. And COVID was that push, right, that I needed to get me where I am now. Because to be honest with you, had it not been for that, I'd probably still be in corporate America. But I really believe, you know, even though I retired before COVID, but the entrepreneur piece of it, that really helped push me to the next level. And I don't think that I would have been there.
Well, you know, that's a good point. But there are people out there who won't even entertain the thought of certain things.
True.
They shut the door, and I'm not hearing you. That doesn't interest me at all. And they are so close-minded that no matter what you say and how, you know, influential, persuasive you can be, they won't even listen. Now, in your case, you could have heard that, and someone could have planted the seed in your mind, and it just grew over the years, and it was in the back of your mind. And one day you were like, oh, you had the catalyst, which in your case was COVID. So a lot of us have a catalyst that pushed us to where we are right now. And then there are some people out there who won't even entertain certain thoughts. And those are the people who end up living with regret, because they talk themselves out of things and never even consider trying ever in their life. They think, okay, it's just going to be this one way and that's it. And those are the people that I'm really, you know, talking to. The only thing we can do as entrepreneurs or just people in general is to just just tell people what we're doing, or just expose them to something and leave them alone and leave it at that. And then they could be like, oh, I'll never do it. But then eventually they may come around. It's like teenagers. Teenagers think they know everything.
Oh,
I thought I knew everything. God, I don't know how I was just so stupid just to think I knew everything. But as time went on, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that does make sense. Maybe I need to try that. Unfortunately, some people, they don't get to that point until they're like 75, 80 years old. By then it's too late.
and then also you got to be careful with the wolf in sheep clothing as well too. There's going to be those folks that be like, nah, you don't need to do that. Mm-mm, mm-mm. But as soon as they see you start to excel and grow and get that bank account going up, then here they come. Oh, I'd love to invest in your company. Well, where were you when I was doing all the blood, sweat, and tears and going here and going there and missing meals and this and that? The hard part of it. Now you want to invest? Go sit down somewhere.
Like Biz Marquis once said, they got the vapors.
Can we bloop that? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm in my mind, New York. He got the vapors. I'm like, what is it? See, you see what happens on this show?
Like-minded people. See?
Look, Jeff, we were here. We were here.
To be the outro song today. They got
See?
that saxophone. Woo, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Too funny. Jeff, I wanted to chime in what you and Julie were saying. I think even especially with friends and family, when we talk about support, support looks different for everybody, and where appropriate. Some of my friends and family are not my ideal client. So I don't want them to use my services. They're not dedicated for them, and that's okay. However, you can share my information with your friends and family or your networking connections. You can follow us and like us on social media, or share that information, share a post on social media. I mean, there's so many ways that you could be supportive of somebody without actually using their services or buying their products in some situations. And sometimes it's for the better, most likely.
I agree with Chanel. Definitely. Jeff's nodding again. He's starting
I'm
nodding.
agreeing with her. I agree with everything she said.
Yeah.
And sometimes all money ain't good money.
Mhm.
Definitely. And sometimes just share my post. Just tell a friend, just do that. Like you say, everything, you can't try to get everything because everything ain't good for you. Everybody ain't good for you. It's just like a relationship. These are business relationships. You got personal relationships. Every relationship is not good for you. And you got to learn which ones are good. This is why we've been around for more than a year now, because this is a good relationship, but you'll learn. And that goes with the territory. You're going to have good relationships and bad. And you just got to learn. You just got to go through it. That's how you learn and grow and evolve as a person as an entrepreneur too.
And it's seasonal. Folks are seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
They're in your life for a season, and then next is someone new. And you would want that, fresh and new ideas from someone else.
Hey, I mean, you learn and grow, and it's the same thing from corporate America. Each one of us now can sit up here and say, there were things that we did in corporate America that actually helping us be better entrepreneurs. You don't think of it initially, but as you go through it, like Julie, structure, organization from project management, same thing with Chanel, Jeff with the finances and all the other different things. All these different things help him on his journey of being an entrepreneur. It's there. You just gotta, pinpoint it for yourself and see where you want to go.
We have to grow and evolve. That's the key. All of us, you have to continue to grow and evolve. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't grow and evolve. They just stay stuck in that one spot. They stay stagnant. And I keep coming back to that regret. It's not till they look back on their life and reflect, they're like, wow, I really didn't live up to my full potential. And that's when that regret comes in. So at least stay open-minded to different ideas. At least stay open-minded and, don't live with that confirmation bias. Don't surround yourself with people who have that same narrow-minded mentality, because if you do, then you're done. And you don't even realize it until it's too late. And sadly, some people don't realize it at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that clock thing, don't put yourself on the clock. Well, if I don't get it in a year and a half, it ain't gonna happen. I might as well give up on it. Honey, that ain't good. Don't put yourself on a clock. Each step that you have to go through for whatever type of business you're trying to set up may not take the 3 to 6 months that you thought you saw on Google. Is in actuality could take a little longer. So don't put a timestamp on, if I don't get it done by this time, I'm not going to bother with it, because you just talk yourself out of really just getting out there and doing everything it's going to take to follow what you're saying is your dream. So that's what, I think is important as well.
That is so good, Alethea, that you said that. It's almost like, I don't know if you and or Chanel or even maybe Jeff have even said this back in the day, before we, you get married. I want to be married by a certain age, and I want to have kids by a certain age, and this and that. But then sometimes be careful what you ask for, because you might just get it, right? You get in there and you've been like, God, I wish I waited, right? Same thing in business. Like she said, don't put yourself on a time schedule. Have a time schedule, but not a time schedule, if that makes sense, because you don't want to really, really wait. But yeah, just don't try to put yourself on such a tight schedule that it's not attainable, I guess, in other words.
That's what I was going to say, Julie. For me, to be able to set, and not hard, like, oh, by in 2 years or 3 years type goals, but just internally to keep me on track and to hold me accountable. So, okay, if August 1st is when we're going to launch this new service, okay, plan backwards. What do I need to do now to make sure that I'm on track with getting to this goal or milestone deadline? So more so for accountability purposes is how I look at it. But going back to what you said, Jeff, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, surround yourself with winners. It gives me nothing but great joy to see people around me winning. So I'm like, all right, yes, my crew, they're doing it well, and they're having those accomplishments and those achievements. So that just tells me, all right, one, I'm around like-minded people who are winning, but two, my circle is achieving and growing. So continue to do what you're doing so that you can also have those achievements and growth as well. So I think that's critical.
Yeah, I agree. But just because the 5 in the circle got there, don't get discouraged because you haven't rang your bell yet. So
but think of it if it was the opposite. If you're around a bunch of people who are always losing or who are always, not going in the right direction of you, what does that do for you? Exactly. Is that pulling you down? Is that slowing you down towards your goal? So I think that's when I think of like-minded people, I think of people who are either going in the same direction that I'm going in, or at the level that can help pull me up to get to the level I'm trying to get to. Because if it's the opposite, I'm going in the opposite direction, most likely.
Yeah, you want to be with people that's just, it's almost like a train. I want to be attached to a train that's going in the right direction, right? In the winning direction. And the more I attach, the more people attach, the more we all win. The longer it gets, the better it's going to be, because we're all going in the same direction. I like that, Chanel.
Yeah.
She opened up a whole can of worms with that winners.
Yeah, didn't she? Yeah.
Man, you know how many people will smile in your face and be like, oh, I'm so happy for you, and deep down they hope you fail? I hate that. I get inspired when I see people succeed. I'm like, oh man, let me follow them and see what they're doing. And if I know you personally, that's even better, because that means, okay, I'm gonna pick your brain and see what's going on, and we're gonna talk, and it's exciting. Don't be the only person in your group that's successful, because then you're gonna be wondering, are they trying to get in your pockets? Are they using you to pay for all the meals and all the trips? I want to be around people we all can pay the bill. Yep. I don't have to worry about you hating on me because you're successful too.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the big chief. I want to be around a bunch of people. We are all breaking bread together, successful, exchanging ideas. That's how we elevate and grow as a people. I'm tired of all this, I got all the secrets. I got all the answers, and I can't tell y'all because then y'all gonna come up too. No, we all need to come up together. That's how we grow as a people. So I love that. I want to be around winners. I love that. That's a whole nother topic. But yeah, that's perfect.
And when you bless people, you get blessings back.
Blessings back, yes.
You know?
Yeah. Whatever you put out, you get back.
Get that
If I
back.
come into with my fist like this, you're gonna put your fist back up too. But if I smile at you and say, "Hey, how you doing?" You're gonna smile and put your hand out too. It's the same thing with business and money also. But people don't see that.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. Definitely run into that.
See, last week, Chanel, Jeff was about to downplay this idea that I had, because I have been inspired by him and Alethea as authors. And I said, well, I have an idea. He's like, oh, here we go. But my idea was, because I'm surrounded by two people who have books. We were talking about, I think it was passive income, to Jeff's point. And I said, I'm surrounded by people who have these multiple books, right? I want to pick your brain because I want to write a book about how to write a book, because they've been through that. So, yeah, ideas
Jeff.
pop off of each other.
Jenny, you shut that down. That was brilliant.
He was about to. And then he says, oh, I retract. He redeemed himself.
If you're gonna tell the story, tell the whole story.
That's the whole story.
Story was, it was near the end of the show, and you know, toward the end of the show, she gets silly. And I was like, oh, here comes one of her silly jokes. And I was bracing for the joke, but she was still serious. I'm like, oh, I take back what I was about to say. That's how it worked. See, it's always two sides of every story. See how she tried to
okay.
Yeah.
It was still the truth, though.
I was gonna say it still was.
And Chanel, I wanted to tell you, that was like one of the best shows we ever had. I'm sorry you missed it.
Was it because I wasn't on the show?
I'm just saying it's one of the best shows.
I don't know how to take that. Sure.
I'm just saying it was just an excellent show.
You were missed, Chanel.
Thank you, Julie.
That's what he's saying. Undertones. His undertones is.
Exactly. But Jeff, going back to what you were saying, I mean, that's access. That's social capital. Having access to people who are winning and who are, steps above you, that's that inspiration where you have that access to social capital and those connections. Because you know this person who may know that person who can get you in the door with a new contract. That's that access and connection that you might not have had if you didn't have this person in your circle. So those are things to think about and consider as well.
So we will definitely make sure that you get the clip of Chanel reminding you and defining what social capital is. We will make sure we have that clip for you. Can run it.
And you get t-shirts. Social capital.
Yeah, social capital.
Love it.
If you got it now, write it down, Julie, is in the notes.
Social
Like-minded
capital, is that what it was?
Hashtag like-minded people.
That's good. What other one you say? Surrounded by winners. Surrounded by winners. That's another good one.
Yep. You have to copyright that, right?
Trademark.
Trademark, yeah. Trademark that.
So guys, it's been another great show. Who wants to start with last words? I want somebody to say me. I never get me. Chanel did it. She did it.
I was gonna say I was gonna be chosen anyway.
You're looking dead at me. I figure I raise my hand.
Put it on the record. No, another great show, guys. It's always a pleasure to be here. I almost didn't make it, but I'm glad I was able to, especially since I missed you guys earlier this month a couple times. Social capital, honestly, that's surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are winning, people who are going in the same direction you are, people that you can learn and grow from, but then also people that can learn and grow from you, from being able to see your accomplishments, how you're overcoming certain situations, and how you're just handling situations. So to me, that's what access and social capital means in regards to surrounding yourself with like-minded people.
Julie?
I have nothing to add. I think Chanel's statement really, really summed it up for me. Sometimes I will say, sometimes you have to operate in silence. You have to take risk. And I just love what Chanel said, hashtag surround yourself with winners.
Agreed, Jeff?
Yeah, this is a great show, and it's inspiring too, because when you get around like-minded people who are winners and are not afraid to take risks, it inspires you also. So I love conversations like this because it shows me I'm in the right direction and I'm going in the right place. And if I have any questions or any doubts, then I know I have a army of people behind me who are willing to support me just as much as I'm going to support them. And when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, you have to have that support. Yes, some business you can do on your own, but you must have that support because that will keep you going. Definitely. So yeah, that was a great show. Now, great points for everyone tonight.
I agree.
Quick, Jeff, let me add, because as you were talking, I thought about it. It's not just winners for me, because we know every day is not a win in entrepreneurship. It's those roller coaster days. But to me, it's overcomers. Those who have come across something and overcame it, no matter what it was or how. That to me is a win too. And sometimes overcoming something is a lesson. It's that failure, like you said, that we may be afraid of, but there's a lesson that we learn in all of those situations that arise. So not just winners, but overcomers.
I agree. So for the
I'm sorry, I'll say this real quick. I'm sorry, I guess I'll say this real quick. Most winners are overcomers because you got to overcome something 9 times out of 10 to be a winner. And that's the key. A lot of winners, they have to go through a lot of stuff. They have to overcome a lot to become a winner. And so if you look at everyone's backstory, you can see something that went on in their lives. Like, wow, you overcame that. That is amazing. That's inspiring. So I think they go hand in hand. I agree with you, but I think they go hand in hand.
But I'm even thinking, Jeff, on smaller things. I recently had a conversation with a colleague, and it was something very minor. Like I'm redoing some of my processes right now, and just having a conversation. She's like, "Oh, well, I use this software. I had that same problem, but I found this solution." And I'm like, "Oh, wow, I had never heard of that." So that was a small, minor situation that she was presented with, and she overcame it by finding this solution. So just having that conversation, so I'm thinking of those two, obviously the big wins and the big things that we come across that we overcome, but some of the small ones too.
Yeah, I definitely get that part. I'm having to take baby steps to go where I want to be, but it's coming together slowly but surely. So like-minded people, we're surrounded every week. Even the weeks that we don't have a show, we're still reminded of who we are and what we bring when we run our reruns. But like Chanel said, that can be your social capital. Julie reminded us, operating in silence. Everybody doesn't need to know every step you're going to take, but surround yourself with winners, like Chanel said, because winners, as Jeff just pointed out, are overcomers. Everybody has overcome some type of obstacles to get where they want to go. And so I say that ends tonight's show in agreement. So on behalf of all of us at Conversation with Entrepreneurs, we would like to thank you for choosing our podcast for your listening or viewing pleasure. And we would like to remind you that you can either watch us live on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram IGTV. But if you prefer to listen to us while you're driving in your car, you can do iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. So we look forward to you joining our conversation again next week. And we thank you for joining us again. Have a good evening, everyone.